Hello loyal members of the Terran Republic. In this short video we'll be reviewing the new Terran Republic MAX ability, Lockdown, and doing a basic review of it with some tactics and utility. Now, some of you may be aware I use C4 from time to time. I've also been known to hunt MAX units. As a hunter of aircraft, tanks, and MAX units, I'd like to point out that the Lockdown ability makes my job easier. The best defense a MAX unit will have against being rapidly killed is enough mobility to dodge C4 bricks. There's a delay between when a C4 brick is thrown and when it can be detonated, and if the MAX unit is paying attention, then that can be used to escape the blast radius. Unless, of course, you're a MAX in lockdown, in which case all you can do is sit there and be blown to bits. Now, if you're considering investing certs in the new abilities, odds are you've played as a MAX unit to some extent already. So we have to ask, do you have more trouble with being worn down by shots, or being killed by C4? I can't really speak for which will plague MAX units more often, but I can recommend to you that whichever you encounter more should probably have some influence on where you invest your certs. On my personal assessment, I'd be careful about investing in Lockdown, unless for whatever reason you can remain stationary and C4 won't bother you. I can only see remaining still as a MAX unit being a good idea for someone who plays with an organized group, and generally will be sitting on top of an ammunition box and have an engineer behind him repairing, or similar circumstances. If you normally don't encounter people throwing C4 at you, then maybe it's okay, but it's going to depend on how much you're willing to sit still. I feel the Lockdown ability greatly increases your vulnerability to C4, so I'd recommend it based on how little a threat C4 is to you. In terms of the actual specifics, it takes about 3 seconds to anchor the MAX in place, and 3 more to mobilize it again. You can fire while anchoring and mobilizing, but your accuracy is a bit reduced during this process. Being anchored increases fire rate, reload speed, and projectile velocity, and it does increase them quite significantly, regardless of which weapon system is being used. However, there's also another problem with using Lockdown that isn't mentioned in the statistics or tooltip. That being you're limited to a 180-degree field of view, locked at wherever you're facing when you start locking down. So if you are locked down and are banking on your increased firepower, taking down any pesky light assaults that might want to come up and C4 you, all they have to do is get behind you, and you'll need to fully remobilize in order to turn around and fire at them. That'll take about 3 seconds, which is enough time for someone like me to collect a MAX kill, go to a biolab for some aromatherapy, and come back after relaxing. Your weapon's fire adopts a more reddish tone when you're firing in lockdown mode, and according to the tooltip, at rank 5 you'll have between 35 and 50% fire rate increase depending on the weapon. I felt that was somewhat vague, and tested each of the current 7 MAX unit weapons, and compared their anchored and unanchored fire rates, and at rank 5 lockdown and virtual reality, they all seem to sit at around 35%. Or slightly below that. None of the weapons tests indicated any of them were close to offering a 50% boost, with the possible exception of the Pounder that is too small a magazine for me to test it properly. Assuming we allow for a couple extra frames in the firing time, we're still looking at an error margin that's smaller than the needed 15% to show us any of the weapons coming close to a 50% fire rate increase, so I don't think that the max level fire rate actually offers 50% to any of the weapons currently in the game. If this is a bug and is hotfixed, or is changed in a later patch, an annotation will appear on the screen, or I will specify so in an update in this video's description. However, even so, the added fire rates are still very powerful across the board, and my assessment of them isn't altered significantly by these tests. Lockdown basically turns you into a mobile base turret. You do get a pretty hefty increase to your firepower across the board, but you're stationary and can't turn around. That's the best quick and simple definition. It has the potential to grant you a lot of utility if you can find opportunities to place yourself in the right location. For example, this could be very useful to anti-aircraft MAX units, or to a MAX unit in the corner of a room guarding a point. On the flip side, if I were a heavy assault coming up a staircase and notice you, I could fire a rocket at you and take half of your health, with you completely being unable to dodge it, or charge to rush me before I reload my rocket launcher. It also might not be so useful if a lot of light assaults are buzzing around and there's a risk an opponent will arrive behind you or above you. In short, it's situational, and will depend on your playstyle and the environment you're using it in, and it has its strengths and its weaknesses. But if you don't feel that it's within your playstyle or comfort zone to position yourself as a relocatable turret, then it may not be the best max ability for you. Considering that it's 350 certs for ranks 1 and 2, 750 for rank 3, 1,250 for rank 4, and 2,250 for rank 5, Lockdown is not a cheap ability to level up, and that may not be worthwhile if you're feeling a little skittish about being a turret and standing still. The risk of C4 can be mitigated by investing in flak armor, which is a good bit cheaper, but still fairly expensive, However, even with flak armor, I just empty my carbine into you from behind while you're mobilizing and probably kill you anyway. So the best defense would be to have your back to a wall, or have teammates covering you, and that'd be far more effective than flak armor in my honest opinion. Ultimately, it's situational and down to your playstyle. Your combat abilities are increased significantly just by investing 350 certs in for rank 2 for the 20 to 35% increase, and if you can be an effective mobile turret, Lockdown's fire rate, reload speed, and projectile velocity increases will benefit you greatly. But if not, Lockdown may get you killed more often than it'll get you kills. It will come down to how you play and what tactics are valid for how you play. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Later, YouTube.